Alright, so now that we've gone over the center information display and we've gone over how to clean up everything that's on our screen so that way it's a little bit easier while we're driving along, we're going to go over our settings now. So, first things first is we're going to go to driver profile. We're going to go right here. We're going to go right here and hit add new profile. We're going to enter our name. So, I'm the Subaru Guru, so I'm just going to put SG. We're going to hit next. You can see SG pops up right here. We're going to hit next again. And then we're going to hit add phone. This is going to be very similar between iPhones and Android, so just follow the steps on your phone and on the screen. You're going to hit add phone. You're going to make sure that your phone is set up for pairing. We're going to be looking right here. Hopefully Subaru BT will pop up. There you go. You can see it right there. So we're going to hit OK. We're going to hit confirm. My phone is connected. You can see this right there. We're going to hit download contacts so that way when we use our voice recognition, we don't have to memorize everyone's phone number. That will make our lives tremendously easier. So if you want to call Susie Lou, you can just say call Susie Lou rather than having to say 510-568-6686. It's just much easier to say Susie Lou than have to remember everyone's name and number. We're going to hit work address. We're going to go back and hit California Drive. You may be wondering why we had to do this again even though I had set it up. It's because it's different for each driver profile. You can actually have different work addresses and different home addresses. So we're going to choose another address for our home address. We're going to do 555 California Drive, Burlingame, California. And so you can see we've set up our home address and we have set up our work address. Next, you can go through our lovely selection of backgrounds. I like green, so we're just going to choose green right now. We're going to hit next, and so you can see our profile has been saved. Changes will be automatically updated to your driver profile. So now that that's all set up, we can continue on, and you can actually see now that the background display has changed to something a little bit brighter. We can leave our brightness adjustment to automatic because, like I went over before, as long as you don't have your dimmer switch set dot to dot, which is going to be max brightness, night mode will kick over automatically for all of your applications and on the map. Display screen on is just going to turn off this display, but it will actually keep everything on the outside illuminated, even if you turn it off. The voice recognition help screen is something we haven't gone over yet, and that will go over in the voice recognition video. Here you can see home screen shortcuts. That's what allows us to move everything on and off of the screen the way I did before in the previous video. You can see Wi-Fi on, and there's going to be Wi-Fi settings. That does not mean this vehicle has a Wi-Fi hotspot. That's actually used for over-the-air updates. I always suggest to people just bring the car into the dealer. It's a lot safer, and on top of that, you don't have to babysit the car for an hour to do the Wi-Fi update. So you can ignore that for the most part. Auto show connected devices I'll skip over. Nobody ever uses that. It's for when you plug something in, it'll just pop up and tell you that something has been connected. Again, same thing happens with USB device automatic play. If you take the USB stick that I gave you and you put music on it, plug it in, it'll immediately start playing off of that. And you can see Sirius XM settings. Not a whole lot. You can do like Tune Start, Sports Flash, and just check your subscription. System language, you can switch between French, English, and Spanish. Unit settings is going to be, you can see, unit synchronized with where you are. Otherwise, you can set it to, you can cancel that and switch between kilometers and miles if you would wish. So, we're going to put that back. You can see check for updates. Again, you really don't want to do that. You can just take it to the dealership. It works a lot easier, and you don't have to worry about wrecking your car either, which people have done before with OTA updates. Finally, you're going to have the factory data reset. That is something you might have to use from time to time. Google and both Apple CarPlay have a hard time working flawlessly all the time. So what ends up happening is sometimes the vehicle will brick itself and kind of get stuck and locked up. As long as you can get to that factory data reset, it'll wipe all the settings back to your vanilla boilerplate, like when you first bought the vehicle, and everything should start functioning again. And if it doesn't, you can always come back to the dealer and have it double checked. Most people don't have that issue as long as they can do a factory data reset. Next, we're going to go to sound. So this is going to be your EQ and sound position. If we turn the volume up, you won't really be able to tell, but you can actually move the sound around each corner of the vehicle. You can mess with the bass, mid, treble. If you mess with it, you can always set it back by hitting the reset button up into the top. There you go. Out of this now. Entertainment volume is just going to be your music volume. Auxiliary volume gain is if you still use an aux cord for like an older iPhone or a Zune or something like that, and you think it's too quiet, you can always turn the gain up so that way it'll sound a little bit louder. Microphone volume is going to be the exact same thing. So if you're calling somebody over Bluetooth and you're having a hard time picking up your call on the other end and people can't hear you, you can turn that up and people should be able to hear you a little bit better. Navigation volume is pretty self-explanatory. It's going to be when the voice recognition is dictating your directions to you, whether that is Google Maps, Apple Maps, or the in-car navigation. Then you can see phone volume is going to be when you're actually talking to people on your phone. Ringtone volume is going to be for when you have a call coming in. And then speech and voice recognition volume is going to be for Siri, Google Assistant, or the in-car. Alert sounds is going to be when stuff pops up, and beep sounds are going to be when you touch stuff. Can't really pick it up all that well because it's very light with the microphone, but you'll hear it once you start touching stuff in your vehicle. We have the phone. You can go over here. If you don't want to have your phone book downloaded anymore, you can always tap that. If you want to change the order of the cell phone connecting, you can go into reorder. I only have one cell phone connected to this vehicle, and if you have multiple, you will play around with that later on your own. Navigation settings. For the most part, you really don't need to do any of this unless you live in a rural area or you want to avoid certain things like tolls and bridges. You go over here and you can do like avoid tolls and unpaved roads. So you can see you can adjust it a little bit, but not a whole lot. And then we can see map display is going to be switched to auto. That's going to change just how everything looks. You can see your home address has been set, your work address has been set because we set up the driver profile. The point of interest icon is going to be everything that we were looking at before, and you can see all the little dots that will pop up if you're close enough on the map. And you can see the arrival time is going to be an either 12-hour or 24-hour. Auto zoom is something I don't mess with a lot. You can if you're going on long trips. It'll just zoom out and zoom in depending on when you need to turn or when you need to drive. Map updates is something that you'll have to go over, and I will have a video for that demonstrating all of the minute details that come with doing a map update on a Subaru. You can see the map update information is going to be showing you what your current version is, so that way you can make sure that you actually need to do a map update. Rest stop guidance function is going to turn on features, so that way if you start driving for a certain amount of time, it'll tell you to go take a rest, and it'll pull off and show you a rest stop that is close to you, so that way you can take a break. And the low fuel warning is going to be if you run out of gas or you're starting to hit the gas light, it'll start telling you. You can see where the gas stations are and will give you a reminder every time you turn the car back on. Finally, we're going to go over the last part, which is going to be the vehicle settings. You can see you have the clock adjustment. That's set to auto because we have the map. That's just going to work off the atomic clocks, and always make sure that your daylight savings and your clock is set correctly. Interior lights just going to be how long the lights stay on after the vehicle has been turned off. Keyless entry, though, that's something you might actually want to mess with. Driver door unlock and lock. If you notice, when you open the vehicle door from the driver's side, only the driver door will unlock. That's a safety feature that is federally mandated, so that way if you're getting carjacked, people on the other side of the car can't get in. Regardless, some people like to have all four doors unlocked, including myself, so I'll change that. Rear gate unlock, though, is something I do not suggest because these vehicles do not automatically lock. If you hit the key fob rear gate button, that'll unlock all the doors or just the rear gate. let's say you hit the gate fob button and you forget to lock your car. Instead of just your rear gate being unlocked, now all 5 doors are unlocked, which is something I don't suggest because, again, the vehicle just doesn't lock itself. The hazard warning flasher is something that most people leave on, so when you unlock and lock the car, the lights blink, and the audible signal is going to be, if you hit the button a couple times, it'll beep every time that you hit the lock. Auto door lock and unlock is again something that I mess with in my own car. I do it when I shift out of park, the doors will automatically lock, and I always leave it to driver door open when I want to have the doors unlocked, so that way they lock as soon as possible and unlock as late as possible. Right here, we're getting to the end of this. The defogger is going to be used for the rear window, and so that's going to be your rear windshield and your side mirrors getting defogged. The auto light sensor is going to be used for when your headlights turn on and off automatically. So if you set it to max, that will increase the sensitivity, and it also will allow you to change wiper link on and off, which will be, if you turn your wipers on, your headlights will turn on automatically. And finally is going to be camera. This is something that, again, a lot of people won't be using, but can be very useful to you if you decide you have a small garage, or if you just care about seeing people behind you for 9 seconds. So you can do that. If you pop the car into reverse and then you put it in drive, the rear camera will stay on for an additional 9 seconds. Or the other thing that's really useful here for people is that sometimes they get confused by the steering angle lines, and you actually turn it off right here. And so if you feel like you can reverse better without those steering angle lines, you can go in here and actually mess with it and turn it off. Next, after this video, we're going to focus on the HVAC system.